Go. Welcome back to ReZero Anime Review, episode number 56. Is it, you're probably thinking, is it just me, or are you having like three series being neck to neck with each other? This one, Seven Sins, and Fairy Tail. Yeah, definitely. Now, before I talk about the first episode of season 3, episode 51, Theatrical Malice. Okay, so the thing with this season is that there has been a conflicting reports on how long the season is going to be. One report that some sources are going with is going to be 16 episodes overall, but it's going to have 2 cores of 8 episodes. Another report I have, and people are saying this to be true, this season is going to be over 30 episodes. Roughly about, I think it was like 36, I heard it was. Yes. Now, I don't know which one is true. It is quite confusing. And I think White Fox should put out a statement to clarify what the episode count is. If in fact it is 16, fine. But I'm like, is that enough to cover basically? Because the alleged rumor I heard is that this season was going to cover 2 story arcs. Roughly arc 5, which covers books 16 and 20, and book 6, which covers books 21 and 25. Now, I did find this out. Apparently there was a couple of major plot threads cut for the previous season, and for some reason they still not put back in yet. Yeah, I found this out later, after I watched the season. By the way, the second season aired, I kid you not, this was like about 4 years ago, the second season aired. Well, the last episode I watched was about 3 years ago. Yes. So, the 2 major plot threads. One, Elsa, the gut bowler. After Subaru killed her, she started moving around like a frickin', like, this was cut from the anime. From what I read, and apparently this is true, they cut this out. She started to walk around the mansion like she's like, here's the thing. This woman is dead. No pulse, and she's moving around like a frickin' zombie. And they cut this out of the anime. And they also cut out another really interesting scene that could have set up potentially another season, but for some reason they cut it out. I don't know the reason for this. What is, you might ask? Well, it is Echidna taking one of those Rishu clones, which is a clone of her, by the way, and taking the spirits of the dead witches, with the exception of the witch who is still alive, surprisingly, and merge into become Witch Omega, which is the combined souls and memories of all dead witches. I'm surprised they cut this out of the anime, and to my knowledge, season 2 has never seen a director's cut, because I'm sure there was stuff cut. I found that to be interesting. The fact they cut this stuff out. 2 really big plot threads. Oh, by the way, Elsa's in the episode as hallucination for Garfield. Which is interesting to say the least. So, this episode, the first episode of season 3, which I heard about this episode about 3 months ago, that there was a YouTuber I watched where he went to this anime expo, I think it was in New York or California, where they actually premiered this very episode, and I knew this opening episode was going to be 90 minutes, and the fact that I knew was going to adapt the entirety of this very book. You are thinking, did in fact do that? It did. The book is only 5 chapters. And I did review this on my YouTube channel like a while ago. Yes. And I knew this book was going to be adapted. Then you're probably thinking, why did you review it? Because I felt like it. I wanted to. the book itself, it is roughly, if I cut out the afterword, it is roughly 275 pages. So, plus, they adapted part of about half of chapter 4 from this very book. They didn't exactly finish adapting it. So, the episode starts out with Subaru doing parkour. And they cut a mentor out of this scene. Don't know why. He is basically just an obstacle course. Takes a whip, destroys the thing, like, oh, finished. And you have Beatrice being there, being his, like, relief coach. And then, believe it or not, Petra asks him to come to the mansion because Emilia wants to see her. Now, the one thing that happened during the time skip that was basically not mentioned here was that basically she's a bit of a clumsy maid, where at one point she was stitching up one of Roswell's coats and left needles in there. Everybody scolded for it, but Roswell was like, she didn't do it on purpose. I mean, Roswell is not stupid. Even he realizes, though, that she's new and she's making mistakes. Fine. She's very young. She's like 12, 13 years old when she's got a crush on Subaru, though it's not mentioned here. And people scold her for her mistakes, but the only person who doesn't is Roswell. I don't think he was spoiling her per se. I think he was basically just realizing, though, that she basically makes mistakes. People make mistakes. And he also stood up for her when she was being accused of burning down the mansion. You know, from the previous season of the show, which it is rebuilt. Which, not surprising given the fact that, now, they do mention this a little bit in the episode. You see, between books 15 and 16, there is, in fact, a 1-year time skip. And not much really is explained in the main book per se what happened. Excuse me. Aside from the fact that Petra is still working as a maid, Rem is still in a coma. Rem makes a quick cameo in the episode. She's still asleep, but oh, don't worry, she will wake up. Yes, she will. So, in the episode, he's in a meeting. Of course, he's there. He's there with Garfield. Also, Otto was there too, because it got really close since the events of the previous arc. And he's kind of become their internal affairs officer. Yes. So you have Subaru, Otto, Garfield, Beatrice, and Emilia. These 5 people meet with Roswell, who's there with Ram. Which I should point out, though, this scene here is the only time you'll see Roswell this entire story arc. Because you won't see him again to the start of the very next story arc. Yeah, he is absent. You probably think, oh, does he disappear? No, that's not the reason why. The reason why, because, you probably think, is he going to be cut out of the anime? No, that's not the reason why. Because they're in a completely different country. He has to stay home and do with other stuff, do other nobles to his cause. They do mention that Felt has been recruiting poor people to her cause. Priscilla has been, well, not a very nice person. Recruiting basically a lot of nobles to her side, who basically want an influence. Anastasia basically has been the same. Crutch basically still has not have recovered her memories yet. Yes, she still suffers memory loss. Basically, there's a lot of reunions from the first season of the show for this one. Because, here's the thing. Some characters who appear in the season, some of them not appeared since season 1 for the show. So, of course, Roswell, he was seen in the previous episode and the previous season where everybody beat the crap out of him because how much of a dick he can be. Well, he can't fight back because then there was spell. So, it's mostly been put behind him. So, then of course, basically, the reason why they're all there is because he has received an invitation for Emilia from Anastasia to go to water city of Persilia. So it talks like oh, it has canals. Oh, it's like the city of Venice. And not surprisingly, Amelia does not know what Venice is. Who does not know what Venice is? I mean, I've read about it. I've seen some movies about it. Have I been to Venice? No, I have not been to Venice. You ride on a gondola. Yeah, they do kind of a thing here with a boat on the water. I mean, I've been on the water. I've been in boats of water. I've canoed. So, they all travel via dragon-drawn carriage, which you have Subaru driving it with Beatrice being his co-pilot. You have Garfield just running along the side of it. And you have Otto and Amelia into the carriage. At one point, like, you have Beatrice basically in control of it, where she does not know how to drive it. And, of course, they mentioned Julius here, and of course he does. Well, actually, the invitation was given to him by his brother Joshua, making his anime debut. Yes, Julius does have a sibling. Yep. So, and yes, he looks a lot like his brother, except the only difference between two of them is that Joshua wears a monocle. Yep, so they get to the city, like, oh, it's like very confusing. The fact that there's this dragon-drawn carriage, the difference between a dragon-drawn boat. So they arrive at this inn. They all describe it as weird, except Subaru, who basically feels nostalgia for this type of inn because it's similar to it's based upon a Japanese inn, and this is something quite interesting. So the door opens and there is Julius with Anastasia, and before all this is so funny. So Mimi, who, by the way, has not been seen since the start of season 2, decides, as soon as she sees Subaru, jump on his head. Because she can. And apparently she's getting smitten with Garfield here, so it's so funny. And later on, she drags on Garfield to in the end, so they have the conversation, like, ooh, we have more people showing up. Yeah, and the other people showing up is Crutch, Reinhard, of course, Felt comes a little bit later with Reinhard, too. And this is when they reveal that Reinhard and Wilhelm are, in fact, grandfather and grandson. Yes. Though anybody can tell that because of their last name. And also the fact that they don't get along with each other due to the fact that, well, it's explained in the episode the reason why they don't is because he kind of rebuked him because he was looking for revenge for the death of his grandmother. Well, Reinhardt's grandmother, basically Wilhelm's wife. And later on, he reconciled before Wilhelm's jerk of a son shows up. Yes, we'll get back to him. So they discuss, we just have a conversation. We have this particular magical item. So we have basically the group just go out and meet Laetitia, making her anime debut here. Well, actually, they get separated. They were on a boat to meet this particular person, and Subaru gets seasick. Yes. In case you're curious, though, this happened to me. Nope. Never happened to me. I never got sick in the water. Yeah, he apparently doesn't like it very much, so Beatrice stays with them. And of course, they just walk around the city, and then they run into Latina, a very young singer, which, of course, apparently she doesn't know of him. And she references the events of late season 1. He references the events of, like, season 2 of the show. Yes, the one with the white whale. And, of course, she brings up the rabbit stuff that he and Beatrice basically dealt with last season. And it's like, oh yeah, the stuff he sings, like, I like Portuguese. Oh, but before all this, while they're walking, on the way there, actually, it's only back. I'll get back because this is quite interesting. This one. So he's like, "Who's Portuguese? He was something cool." He was he was the Archbishop of the Witches cult, who Subaru killed in late season 1, and his legacy plays a role in this arc. because of a brand new character. We'll get to her. So they go in, and apparently because he dare touch her, not inappropriate, mind you, he gets upset and destroys the office. And on the way back, this is going to be quite interesting, and this happened in the book chamber this really well. They're on the way back, and Emilia bumps into Regulus, the Archbishop of Greed, making his first present-day appearance in the series. Because he did appear last season in a flashback. Well, basically, Emilia's memory. He's like, he seems familiar. It's the Archbishop of Greed. I knew just by looking at him that's the Archbishop of Greed. So then they're walking along, and then they get back to their inn, and then Subaru sees somebody he's not seen since the opening arc of the series. He's going, oh look, it's Dumber. Yeah, he's like, don't call me that. Of course, he runs him later on in the episode, which is so funny. And apparently, Felt recruited him, which is interesting. Of course, it's the whole thing with. That's when the whole Reinhardt review happens, and then Williams, and of course, that's the next day. And of course, in this funny moment, we have Beatrice and Yamka, basically like a Komodo. We see Emilia in it too. So he's like so mesmerized with her because he's madly in love with her. And there's a joke early in the episode, like thinking, that Beatrice might be their kid, even though she really isn't. And brings to the fact they kissed. They did this like pretty much like in the final episode of season 2. And it was probably something that Subaru wanted to do for a long time. And of course, it was a joke. And of course, basically, they want to get their crystal because they want to get Puck back. Puck is actually, believe it or not in this arc. Yes, Puck is gone. He's not dead. He is just gone. He's not in this arc. I think he returns the very next arc of the series, but he's not appearing in this arc. So, then we have next morning, of course, they have this Ariake breakfast. Everybody prepares it. And this is a funny moment where we have Emilia and Beatrice just prepare. And of course, Felt is basically, apparently Reinhardt is like so good at it. And Wilhelm is like not good at it. He's like, can you show me how to do this? And that's when his jerk of a son shows up, who's the vice captain. So we're on official duty. And like Subaru, some might see he's being rude, but it's later revealed they're actually quite happy he acted that way. Because of how much of a dick Reinhardt's father really is. And basically felt one of her desires is to have Reinhardt be named the heir to the Astrid family estate. Because his father is the current head. Yeah, and Priscilla just there, being a jerk as always. And then, of course, you have this little kid named Scotch. Skull, I think his name is, and drags him away. And, of course, then I mentioned the whole thing with the white whale. Then we have Julius talking to Subaru later, which I found this to be interesting. Because the last these two spoke to each other was during the third arc of Season 1. Well, technically, they appeared at late Season 1. That was less than they spoke with each other. So after this, they get some chatting, and then, of course, then just by sheer coincidence, they run into Latina again, and then Priscilla proceeds to do a cabaret dance. I know what this is because I've seen images of it. So, yeah, she does a special dance with her dress that she wears, which, yes, this is the same dress she wears in the light novels. Thank you, A. Fox, for not changing it. So, why don't y'all prepare some snacks? So then he runs into Rogers again. And then we meet what basically Partridge Legacy is. Sirius! This lady right here. The Archbishop of Wrath. First of us, Basilius used Portuguese's last name, which is interesting. Let's say it's like all about love. And then she drags out a young boy who she has captured, named Luthal, who is like must be close to his friend Tina, who's a close friend of her, and like everybody's like laughing, and then the scene ends with her dropping him from this tower, and then Subaru died, and he comes back returned by death. And here's something this is something really interesting about this arc that you might find interesting and really cool about this arc. In the entire arc, the return by death is only used once. In this one moment. That is the only time it's used. He never uses it ever again. Because Subaru stays alive the entire arc. Which, that is a first, given the fact that every arc, he's always dying multiple times. I think he died more in the previous season than any season combined. I think he died like 20 times. He died like every episode and came back. And it was kind of the same thing here. And I'm kind of glad they kept that in. And that's where the episodes, but we have also a bonus scene here. Well, Garth and Mimi are just running around the city, and then of course he sees some kids hit by a boat and takes them all home. And then the last kid who runs his sister, and then he sees their mother, who is actually his mother, which of course he has not seen since he was a child. And because he thought that she was dead. Died in a carriage accident. They explain later on that apparently her new husband found her and she suffers amnesia. Yeah, but really good episode. Though I don't think the rest of the season will be this long. I mean, if you break up the 90-minute episode, this is roughly about 3 episodes right here. Yes. Yes, it is. Do I think the rest of the season will be 90 episodes? No. I highly doubt it. I think that starting with the very next episode, we're going to book 17. Basically, they're going to start adapting this very book right here. And those of you curious, though, how long ago did I review this very book? Like, excuse me. So, book 16 I reviewed 3 years ago. And then book 17 I reviewed like 3 months later. So, yeah, I reviewed these ones like 3 years ago. But I at least basically review this. Mainly because I wanted to keep the series alive. This interview series. Because I did not know when the season was going to come out. And now it's out, which I'm very happy with that. Now, those of you might be asking this very question. Am I going to continue viewing the book this way affect the season, anime season's out? The answer is yes. Yes, I am. And will I have my hands more on the spin-off books, the X books? Yes, I will. Yep. But overall, really good episode. I enjoyed it. Let me take a look and see here because it is like maybe it's going to be 2 cores of 16 episodes. I'm thinking basically it might be that. But yeah, with this episode done, there's probably for this season right now, there's about, until I get confirmed, about 50 episodes to go. So we got a while for this one. This one won't finish up until January. Yep, so yeah, that's particularly a particular view. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and do not the dislike button. So you might be thinking, will this be as long as my other next videos? Probably not. Yep. But I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna call it night. I'm gonna rest my voice a bit, and I'll do my comic corner. Okay, next few. Bye.